I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Granite Mountain Movie Club. Today, we're not talking about movies. When I started this show, I had kind of always anticipated doing maybe general pop culture sort of stuff, and I had planned a long time ago to do some episodes about music. Maybe like album reviews or like ranking albums from art, like from various artists or something. I haven't done anything like that yet, but recently in the news, on Twitter and all over, something's happened that I think is kind of like, I think this show is a good place to discuss what's happened. So today we're going to look at this new song from this guy who most people had never heard of until last week. His name's Oliver Anthony. He's got this song, the title's Richmond,
north of Richmond, I think.
Richmond, north of Richmond. That's right. And as you heard there, I got Cool Fraser here today.
I'm cool and I'm listening.
There you go. How are you doing otherwise, other than, being cool and listening?
Oh, just trying to stay cool at all times and also to listen at all times. But
well, it's good that you're listening, because we're talking about music, so you've been listening.
No, yeah, and I was going to say we technically have done some music commentary before, but this is the first explicit music cast. So, yeah.
So yeah, maybe this one This is a music club episode.
You'll want to stay tuned to the end though, where we give our artist of the week recommendation.
Yeah, we'll talk about other artists too, for sure, in the course of this. Have you been selling your soul, working all day?
Yeah, I mean, not really, but yeah, I think I've known a lot of people who are into this specific genre, kind of your kind of throwback country genre. So this was not at all a new experience to me, but it seems like it hit everyone else like they didn't know this existed.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start from the beginning. The best I can tell, and if you're listening to this, you probably already know this, but I think it was August 10th, which would have been like Thursday of last week or something. Mm-hmm. Thursday. This guy who I've never heard of, I got some mutuals in common with him on Twitter, Chase Steely. He posts this video. So he ripped the video from YouTube, basically. He was over content
in only 2 minutes of it.
Yeah, 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which is like the legacy limit on Twitter. Elon lets you upload more, so I'm not sure why he didn't upload.
Oh no, only if you're blue.
Oh, okay. So this guy's blue though, so I don't know. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know.
He could have uploaded the whole thing, but he didn't for some reason. Maybe to help out the channel or something. But so he rips the video from this YouTube channel called Radio West Virginia, Radio WV, and he puts it on his page, and it blows up like immediately.
Well, he tweeted it out and it got a decent amount of views, but then someone retweeted it and was like, this sure is what conservatives believe or something, and framed it explicitly. Because he just posted it and was like, cool song.
He just said banger. All he said was banger and the title of the song.
Exactly. And then someone was like, this is what true conservatism is about, or something like that. Or this is a right-wing artist.
Yeah, this is where it gets crazy to me, because it was like all of the Blaze Media, like everyone who works at Blaze Media.
Well, first it was like just a smaller like right wing Twitter account that did that, but then from that it got maybe like 1 million views, and that's when I started seeing the Blaze Media people chime in. Yeah,
but it was weird because it was like all of them, and I don't know if that's just like, they're all seeing each other's stuff and they all work in the same office, so they just are all into it. Or, was it sort of, did the boss be like, hey, everyone pump it, we gotta, I don't know. But then it blows up, and the song had only come out 2 days prior on YouTube. So comes out August 8th, and it gets like, I don't know, in the tens of thousands of views just from Radio West Virginia's.
Yeah, most of the stuff on that channel is probably like sub 100,000 views.
Most of it's like sub 10, I think.
Yeah, and then they'll have a few, like maybe one a month that'll get maybe like 100,000.
Yeah, and this channel has, I don't know if they've broken other artists, but they have some big stuff from some other guys. Let me pull it up actually, and that's a big. We'll get into that. I know that's something both of us are interested in, but
yeah, like it was weird. The Blaze Media, it was like Matt Walsh is like, this is true art of conservatism, and then the other famous hosts at Blaze, such as, I'm reading the Wikipedia.
I don't really know who all these guys are, but you got
they had Stu Bergieri, Steve Deese,
Logan Hall,
Kevin Freeman. Do you know any of these people? Then Mark Levin commented, and that's when it really took off. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I've at least heard that name.
I don't know. There's like 4 or 5 guys at Blaze Media, though.
And Dave Rubin was like, I'm listening to this with my down-home country husband.
Yeah. There's a guy called Tyler Carditis, which sounds like what you get after you take a COVID shot. You get a case of Tyler Carditis. But
just demonetize this podcast.
He's the CEO of Blaze Media. He said that the perfect song doesn't exist. Oh wait, and he links to this song. And that's the thing. I got the distinct impression that a lot of the people who were like really, really excited about this probably don't really listen to a lot of music. And that's not to say the song isn't good. So up front, I think the song is pretty good. I think it's a very good song. And I think,
and for the audience, I think both me and you are kind of into this kind of subgenre, which we'll talk more about maybe.
Yeah. So you and I both, I have seen Radio West Virginia before. Like I'm
subscribed, and I try to listen to them every once in a while, to see if there's any cool new artists.
Yeah. And I think their subscribership, I'm looking at their numbers now, I think it tripled over the last week. They went from like 60K to 180.
Yeah, because they were kind of a small player in this kind of new modern country genre. They were kind of the smaller dog, and now they're like the biggest dog.
So for anyone not familiar as well, there's like this model on YouTube where a videographer or like someone will go out there with a nice camera and maybe a nice microphone. And they'll go to these like indie country and folk artists, and they'll say, "Hey, I'll make you a nice little music video, and I'll help you build up a fan base, and you're gonna draw people to my channel. So like they're probably getting ad revenue or whatever, while at the same time they're helping these people get discovered. And it's a popular model. There's a bunch of channels that do this.
I have some background info on that.
Yeah, go for it.
Because one of the biggest ones, and I don't know if you've heard of it, is La Blagothèque, a French version of this for indie artists. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they started in the early 2000s. Actually, their first one, they have these things, un concert à emporter, or something like that. It's a takeaway show where they film people playing music in almost like busking. So they got like, big bands to go and play acoustic versions of their songs in like a park in Paris or something.
Yeah.
But they actually started with the first band that they did this with was the Spinto Band, which is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they've been mentioned on the show here before.
Yeah. But anyway, they're probably an early one. Also, I mean, if you're not familiar with it at all, kind of like Tiny Desk Concerts is kind of this, right? With NPR, where it's like, we'll take an artist and we'll film them and release some music, or like almost like a live performance or music video, but we kind of swap through a curated list of guests. And then there's ones kind of for each subgenre probably, but there's definitely like 3 or 4 that are doing kind of these up and coming country artists.
Yeah. There's a bunch. Yeah. There's a handful that do specifically this sort of like focus kind of on indie country or indie folk Appalachia stuff. And if you are already listening to those channels, if you already and they're not unpopular. There's like they have some of their videos have so Radio West Virginia before this Oliver Anthony song, their biggest song was Logan Halstead with 6.7 million views. And that was 2 years ago. So like if you were already familiar with this stuff, I'm guessing Anthony's song probably didn't. You probably saw it and you're like, oh, this is good. But
Yeah,
like
that's exactly what I did. Like I saw the tweet early on, and I was like, yeah, this is a good one.
yeah, but it's like this is a good one. Like but it's like there's the Logan Halstead one, which is really good. They've got this guy Nolan Taylor. They've done some from him. Those are good, and they've got Drayton Farley, who's pretty dang popular too now. And I think they kind of helped break him.
Well, and like Zach Bryan has now kind of made it mainstream. I don't know if he started on that channel, but he's made it mainstream, and he kind of started in this sphere.
Yeah. And just while I'm on the page, I don't know. Have you ever seen this kid, Jake Cohn? He's a funny one.
Yeah.
He's
the long hair guy?
He's long hair. And I think when his song Frostbite was recorded, he was 15, but he sounds like, he's
got like an old soul.
Yeah. He's got an old man's voice. So anyway, these things are like,
and maybe we should mention like Coulter Wall, who was like 18 when he started and kind of had the same thing. He's also kind of made it big.
Yeah, I don't know. Did he come through one of these channels too?
No, but I mean, he's been on some of them, like when he was newer, and but yeah, he's definitely kind of gotten recording deals, a while back. But
yeah,
but he's kind of the same thing. It's kind of this kind of indie or older style country revival stuff.
Yeah, and the point of pointing all this out is it's like a lot of people were responding to the Oliver Anthony video as if no one makes music like this anymore. Mm-hmm. They're like finally someone put a white man on YouTube. Finally someone's letting a white guy just play a guitar and sing. Like no one was letting him do that, and now they're finally letting him do that again. Like finally. And it's like there's a lot of these guys.
There are a lot of these guys. And I actually did a thread about it like a year ago because someone was like, all country music sucks. And I was like, well, some country music is good. And there's these guys. And I shared like some stuff from Radio West Virginia. And people were like, oh, yeah, this is really good stuff. Like, this isn't what you typically think of like, a song about being sexually attracted to your tractor.
Yeah. Yeah, and we should mention the another channel that I've watched a lot more than Radio West Virginia, Gems of VHS. They've they've pushed this, not pushed, but they've had a lot of content from this guy Ben Todd, who for obvious reasons has never blown up in like conservative circles because the last interview I saw with him, I think he's a communist or something, but
he was like a hobo punk singer, and he switched over to country.
He was kind of folk punk, and now he does more folk country, and he's politically kind of a communist or something like that. And but if you listen to his songs, it's it's kind of the same thing, not the same, it's the same genre, I guess, as like Oliver Anthony. But this is all just to say, like, this is not something that no one is doing.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of which, I kind of have a rant on this.
Yeah, go for it.
As always happens, and this is maybe another point, but as always happens with our guys, there's kind of a faction. I hesitate to say irony, bro, because it is kind of like Beardson. But anyway, there's kind of this faction of right-wing Twitter that are like, we're never going to go with the mainstream. And they're like, I'm against whatever the rest of right-wing Twitter is, even though they're ostensibly right-wing, because like they have to like be contrarians. It's like in their blood. So anyway, there's that faction of right-wing Twitter, and they're like, they keep calling it bluegrass. They're like, this is bluegrass guy. And I'm like, this is not bluegrass. This is like very explicitly country and indie country, maybe, if you want to separate it from mainstream country. But like, This is not in any way bluegrass.
Yeah. The bluegrass label, it's not made sense, and I have seen this called that, and yeah, and I
Like
don't.
bluegrass is like more like instrumental, or it definitely has a banjo. You know, like if he had a banjo, I could get it, but like he's got a steel guitar. It's not a banjo. Like, but yeah, it just bugs me because like people obviously don't know what this music is supposed to be. They know it's not country, so they're trying to separate it, so they call it bluegrass. And I just think it's funny because it's like you obviously like don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, what made so? I kind of talked about how there are other guys doing this, but they're not really. There's not an explicit political message in what they're doing.
Right.
Although some of these other guys, you could probably assume that they probably lean right or something. But
Well, so I mean, I kind of commented on it and said kind of one of the pioneers in this space was Tyler Childers, who was also in the news recently. And I used to
Yeah.
say Childers, but apparently it's Childers.
I think it's Childers. But
Yeah, but he kind of revived it, and even I saw an interview with that Logan Halstead guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I grew up listening to Tyler Childers or whatever."
I grew up listening to this artist who's existed for 7 years.
Yeah, and
But yeah, Halstead looks. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he looks like in his video from 2 years ago, he looks 17 or something.
yeah, and so I'd say maybe like 10 years ago, and maybe 7 years ago, right? There was kind of this new wave of country or folk music coming out that was explicitly talking about the problems of rural whites, I guess, or just rural America, which tends to be white.
Yeah, lots
and
of opioid stuff and
right. So it's
coal
not
miners.
explicitly like racial or anything, but yeah, they're singing about coal miners, they're singing about people with opiate addictions, they're kind of singing about what the modern country blues would be, whereas back in the day they were like, different, in the 60s and stuff, when that kind of hardline country stuff was out. Nowadays it's kind of like, your town has been decimated by economic policies, and you're, basically kind of the stuff Trump ran on. And I would say this stuff came out like right before Trump became popular. And like, I don't know, maybe shout out to your previous review of Hell or High Water. It's kind of like that. And actually Coulter Wall was featured in Hell or High Water. Like that was the aesthetic they were going for, right?
Yeah, he's got the song at the end of the movie. It's perfect needle drop.
Yeah, and so there's all kinds of musicians kind of singing about, people dying of drugs young, and maybe even like singing about Iraq war veterans who are like killing themselves and stuff, because those were a lot of like rural country guys, right?
Yeah.
And so and it stands in opposition to kind of the glitz and glamour of what country is right now, where it's like Lil Nas X is the number one country artist, right?
Yeah.
and
Old
like
Town Road.
yeah, it's not really speaking to anything like real, right? It's just kind of like try this in a small town and stuff like that, right?
Well, that's that small town thing. That's another important part of the narrative here. But keep going.
Yeah. But also like this genre also, I think, is somewhat born out of like the indie rock, indie punk genre, where a lot of these guys actually were kind of in those indie rock bands in the 2000s and 2010s, but like they kind of couldn't get a foothold in the culture anymore, right? And then they kind of were like, well, I grew up with country music and listening to like maybe Johnny Cash and stuff like that, and so I'm going to start doing more songs like that, but kind of keeping the edge or maybe the commentary of this like punk genre of like talking about your woes, or maybe like emo is even like this is emo country instead of emo rap. And so that's kind of like where Benjamin Todd comes from and people like that. But like, yeah, anyway, what I'm saying is there's this big kind of push to talk about like maybe real problems as opposed to and maybe more of an artistic sense than just trying to produce something people can square dance to, right?
Yeah, and so this is something that so initially my kind of initial response was I was kind of like, I liked the song right off the bat. Like I liked it.
Yeah.
But I think some people probably thought I was concern trolling a bit because I was kind of like I was kind of warning people. I'm like, look, like we've heard one song from this guy, which you could actually go back on his YouTube and he's got stuff goes 3 years back, and but those songs are less. Those songs appear. I've listened to all of them. I don't think there's really much political messaging in those older ones, but I was kind of like, look, everyone, you got one song from this guy, and some of the lyrics, while they initially do seem right wing or something, there's also like left wing populist type Bernie types who are making some of these same arguments. So like, maybe,
right. So Childers recently was in the news for like having a gay marriage song for gay cowboys or whatever.
Gay coal miners.
Literally all like his first like 5 big songs were like coal miners are getting effed over by the modern economic policies.
Exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I was thinking, because everyone's like, oh, finally, like, forget Tyler Childers. We've got Oliver Anthony now. And I'm like, well, Tyler Childers started out, Nose to the Grindstone song. Like, he's just sort of like, being a coal miner breaks your body and it's a thankless job and everyone hates you. I'm like, old Tyler Childers kind of could have sounded like right wing too, but
right. Like explicitly, like the lyrics almost are like a 1-to-1. I guess if we're doing like a live react of Oliver Anthony lyrics, the thing that would set him apart would be a slight mention of the Epstein Islands, and then a comment on overweight people taking advantage of welfare.
Yeah,
those two things are like the only things deviating from these hick lib artists that we've known for a while now.
Yeah, and I almost thought though the miners on an island somewhere, that line, when I initially listened to it, I figured he meant it the way like we might mean it, but I also thought, okay, maybe he's saying though, because he says, I wish politicians would look out for miners, like coal miners, and not just miners on an island somewhere. I almost thought maybe he means politicians should be helping coal miners and the working man, and not looking for these non-existent child abuse victims. Like, I thought maybe he could possibly be saying it like that. Like why do people care about Epstein Island when they should just be giving money to poor whites or something? But I don't think that's what he meant. But that was my first.
I thought it was Epstein, but yeah.
No, it is Epstein.
Yeah.
It is talking about Epstein. I just didn't know if he's saying like people are wasting time thinking about it, or they are like or that the politicians are actually going to Epstein Island. Like, I'm settled on the kind of right wing interpretation, but when I first heard it, knowing nothing about him, I was like, I'm gonna keep myself open to both interpretations.
Well, and even in this stage, like before he started talking about it and stuff, and people started talking to him, me and you were talking, and like we were like, this still could be just a guy who grew up and doesn't like seeing his friends die of opiates, and it doesn't really mean he's right or left wing in any way. Well,
that's the other thing, and that's actually, that one's still kind of on the table for me, except for his recent like concert, where whether it's genuine or not, he opened with like a Bible passage and stuff, and he seems to know his audience, and it's like, so even if he wasn't like a conservatard like us, he is now. He has to be, like,
right.
He got boosted so hard and so fast by like Daily Wire, Matt Walsh, Blaze Media, Fox News, that, and most musicians are going to just toil away and never make any money. And if he's faced with this thing where he's like, even if he's not a genuine like conservative or whatever, and he insists, he's like, oh, I'm down the middle. I don't like either party. He's got a lyric like
Right, yeah, in the song he says he doesn't like Republicans.
Yeah, he has a song where he's like, Republicans and Democrats can all go to hell or something like that. And so even if he was a centrist or something, which he claimed to be, he kind of has to be a conservatard now.
I was thinking after that lyric, I was like, he's going to come out as a libertarian and start saying like we need to vote for Gary Stevens or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Gary Johnson.
Yeah, there we go.
But most musicians are never going to make any money. Even pretty good ones end up just like, they barely get by. They do shows. They make a few bucks, but now he's in this situation where if he rides the wave for 2-3 years, he could be set for life. And that's just doing all the conservatard stuff. Like he can just go and do, Blaze Media, I'm sure has already said like, hey, come play at our annual meeting, pay you $50,000 or something. And like, he just has to ride this wave at this point. And one thing about it I've thought of is it's like, he can't, if he embraces it, which I think he's going to, he can't go on tour with Tyler Childers.
Right.
Of whom he is a fan. He's got a video on his channel covering Tyler Childers. And he can't go on tour with Jason Isbell, who tweets like some libtard thing every day. But he can get those conservative bucks. And, so in the sense, he's kind of stuck in that now.
Right.
And I wonder, something else I've wondered is like, if you listen to a mainstream country station, like you're talking about, like Tractor Sexy and all that stuff, which, or Lil Nas X, I don't know if they'd like him that much. I think because the aesthetic of what he's doing is still more of like the coffee house country.
Right. Like those people don't really listen to that kind of country music. Like there might be some overlap, but yeah, they're not really the same genre anymore.
Yeah, he can't go on tour with I don't know who's like big in like commercial country right now.
I don't know either.
Not
like,
Florida Georgia Line. I don't think they're like a
what's
thing
that? There's an Albanian woman, BB Rexa.
She's Albanian. Okay.
Yeah,
he's not going to be. Do you see her thing where her boyfriend told her she was fat or something?
Yeah.
Because she asked, she's like, do I look fat? And he's like, yeah, honestly, you have gained some weight. And she broke up with him.
And he was like, I wouldn't lie to you. That was
he was very nice about it. And she's like, you're gone. You're done.
Oh, man.
I'm pulling up the country charts. Billboard Hot Country Songs. Morgan Wallen. He said the N-word, I guess. But he does very lame music.
In what context did he say it?
Do you remember he got like canceled for saying the N-word? But
I heard about it on the radio, I think, on NPR.
He said it, I think, with the soft A. And
right, like he was talking to a friend or something.
He was talking to a black friend,
right,
who presumably had given him a pass. He's like, I
had a pass. What's up?
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
Probably. Zach Bryan is on the country charts right now.
Yeah, he's been touring with the normal country people, and also his music has been more normal country.
And he has a little bit of this more indie sound, but the big difference between Zach Bryan and Oliver Anthony is Zach Bryan. Well, I was about to say he's really handsome. I'm pulling up pictures. He's kind of handsome, but
he's
also
country handsome.
He's country handsome. Yeah, there you go. He's kind of.
Yeah, he's clean shaven. We can say that.
He looks like he played college football.
Yeah.
He looks like he could have played college football. And Oliver Anthony's he's not a particularly handsome guy.
Right, he's got a scruffy beard.
It might get worse without the beard. I don't know. I think. So anyway, I don't think I don't know if he can go the mainstream route. Maybe the mainstream audience will embrace him because he's a meme now, and everyone likes memes.
Yeah, you got to know the meme.
So maybe as a meme he can go mainstream, but I don't know if his music could have gone mainstream otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, as far as mainstream goes, I mean, he was the most downloaded artist on iTunes, whatever that means.
Well, I checked. So I was curious about
Okay.
that. I saw that he had 3 songs in the iTunes top 10, and someone in my replies was like, "Well, that's just the same as Apple Music." So that he's made it, right? He's arrived at the promised land because Apple Music is just what a lot of normies use for their music. But I checked, Apple Music has totally different charts. iTunes, I think, is the people who are actually still buying songs on iTunes, which means people who
Not
are
that many people.
over the age of 50. Like,
Right.
so conservatives would probably, they're probably more likely to buy a song on iTunes. He's still, I mean, he's still kind of made it, but
No, as
iTunes,
far as a music artist goes, but yeah, maybe not mainstream yet.
yeah,
No one of my normie family had heard of it as of yesterday. So
yeah. I'm wondering. My brother is aware of it. He sent it to me. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't think anyone else, that
yeah,
I
maybe
know.
if you watch Fox News and you saw it on there, you'd know.
I have a friend who I talk to about, music and folk music, but he's already aware of these Radio West Virginia YouTube channels and stuff. So, um, yeah. So, but then now I'm kind of want to talk about what sort of takes are you seeing out there? Like this has been one of the most amazing uh discourse cycles. Like Oliver Anthony is he's like speed running the discourse. Like he dropped on Thursday and it's now Monday, and it's like I've seen the full range of takes on this guy. Everyone is trying to map their thing to him.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's kind of come full circle where some on the right are being like, "Oh, he's a secret liberal," and or whatever.
I'm seeing secret liberal, but I'm also seeing now there's a big thing, a bunch of people who sometimes have like normal good takes. Like they're now doing well, he's a plant. Like this is all a setup. Like this is, controlled opposition or whatever. Like, the music industry figured they needed
Yeah, the industry plant thing. I actually was going to comment on that because apparently there was a recent industry plant fiasco with a NFT animated artist
oh yeah.
at a rap concert, but I can't remember what it was. But it's like a bunny and a bear, and they were like, "How'd they get here?" But anyway,
Well, there's claims of industry plant or intelligence, like intelligence community.
oh, like
Yeah, and it's like
what's the angle there? Like, if we like this music, we'll
they'll use this guy to, lead people around by the nose, right? Like,
okay.
oh, the guy you like, yeah, oh, he supports healthcare for all or whatever, Um the let's see. Oh, the thing about that though, the people claiming it's like a plant, that to me is just kind of more evidence though that people don't listen to music. Like,
Yeah.
because he's not what's happened is remarkable, but he's not that remarkable. Like,
Well, like they could have just picked any one of those songs and thrown them on there and been like, "This is what the true right wing is about." Like that's the weird thing.
any one of his songs or any one
No,
of
of
like,
the
other
Radio
guys.
West Virginia artists, right? Like Logan Halstead or something. They
Well,
could have
I don't know
thrown
about
that.
that because his song, like you said, it does talk
Sure.
about like makes fun of like welfare queens or whatever. He doesn't say welfare queen, but I mean, he's the thing too is like some people are being like, oh, he hates poor blacks or whatever. It's like, well, he's actually making fun of probably poor whites who he lives by,
Right.
who abuse welfare or whatever. But um,
How do liberals talk about obese people with food stamps? They just say
well,
food deserts.
they talk about food deserts, but they
But
also
it's like nobody's dying of hunger. Like how they define hunger in America is if you ever skipped a meal. And
yeah.
so like that's how they determine it, like on the like if you ever hear about it, like the question they ask the people is like, did you ever go without a meal because you didn't have money or something?
Yeah, and
But
that's
then
I
like
bet.
if you're asking that to someone who's like 400 pounds, like maybe that's okay that
Yeah,
they didn't buy another pizza.
well, that's why they're doing this like the fat phobia stuff, where it's like you can't, you're just not even supposed to ask someone about how they got so fat or something like.
Right, and I know like a lefty would probably say, well, they can only buy food at a gas station because there's no grocery stores near them or
Yeah,
whatever.
no fresh
Right, they can't
veggies.
get produce. But like that still doesn't explain why we need to give them money to eat. Like they're not starving, right?
Yeah. Well, even if the food desert thing was true, and you just ate hot dogs at 7-Eleven,
Right.
I mean, you
They're not dying of hunger.
you
So
eat
like why do they need food assistance?
well, even that you eat two for lunch and two for dinner, and it's like that's still you're still not going to get 400 pounds. So
Right. I don't know.
uh,
Maybe the children are underweight, I guess.
yeah, maybe. Um, but yeah, no, they don't.
Wait,
They
wait,
don't.
wait, wait. If you're a libtard listening right now, please explain why you support obese people getting food stamps in the comments below.
Um, yeah, please explain. Let's see some of the takes. Do you remember the guy who did the thread on the Hick lib? Like,
Yes, yes.
um, and
Remind me though.
I kind of liked his thread because he went through and like talked about he basically called out all the like artists who are seemingly authentic rural Americans, but like showing the instances of how they all just kind of promote they all promote gay marriage or whatever. And
Oh, yeah, can I talk about my take on that?
yeah,
Right? Cuz kind of wasn't the point of that thread is like why do these people become liberal or whatever?
he was kind of suggesting that it's like, well, his main thing seemed to be he's like, the media holds these people up as examples of what a real rural American believes. They'll say Tyler
Mhm.
Childers, he's a bona fide, poor West Virginian. I think he's from West Virginia, but he's a bona fide poor West Virginian, and he thinks trans rights are cool. So, other West Virginians should think that and probably think that too. We're probably underestimating just how progressive all these like poor whites are in West Virginia, and that's why we should get the policies we want.
Right. Right. Like this is what actual hicks are like. They're
Or
worried about
or
gay
they'll say
marriage.
like you can still be a cool manly West Virginian if you you
Would
know
date a trans woman.
yeah um yeah. And then that guy's thread, he kind of just like listed who they were, and he's just sort of saying that they're not truly representative of where they're from. So they get
Sure.
sold as authentic when what they really are is like one of the 5% of people from that place who believe that thing.
Well, and I'm not even convinced that these people are fully liberal. I think they're just acting liberal the same way people act liberal at their stupid corporate job.
Yeah, and
They're just playing ball.
I think there's a big part of it where it's like you just you kind of adopt the point of view of whoever gives you money.
Right.
And for like Childers, like it's not Childers probably has a decent conservative audience, but ultimately it's like the people who pay a lot to go see concerts, probably concerts where it's like kind of authentic music, and it's not
Hmm.
songs about um, you know drinking brewskis at the lake.
Right.
The
Or
problem,
just anyone who would go to an indie show and
yeah,
not a festival or mega
a
country
stadium
event.
show. Yeah,
What's that country festival called? It's like
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Denim something. I don't know.
Denim Fest. I don't know.
Denim Fest.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, and my take on that is these people, they grow up in flyover states anywhere from like Iowa to Kentucky to like Alabama, right?
Uh-huh.
Whether they're like country western or not in those states, like not really to be seen. In the rural parts of all those states, though, people are listening to country music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they grow up, they probably are grown up listening to things like Johnny Cash, like, modern country, and like, probably even Garth Brooks and stuff like that, right? so you're a person like that in one of those states, and you come to find out you really want to play music for a living, right? So in if you're in one of those states and you're like, I want to play music, well, you're going to probably end up in a scene that is more liberal, right? It's not like you go to play music in a basement and it's a bunch of cowboys, right?
Mm-hmm.
You typically go and they're probably playing like punk music or you know, something like that, because that's what like the underground scene is, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you go to coffee shops or something, but once again, like you're not, it's not like they're going to cowboy coffee shops. They're going to coffee shops where, you know, women with problematic glasses are sitting there sipping their coffee, right?
Yeah.
And you probably head to like the liberal capital of your state, or you know, something like that. And so the people that are already artistic, right, in that sense, that can want to write songs as what they want to do, like they probably already lean somewhat liberal for the place they're from. And then you compound that with, then they get out of those states, they go to LA, they go to Nashville, they go to somewhere like that to kind of play more shows, because in their stupid state there's probably not a lot of underground shows you can play to a smaller audience, right? And so they end up in LA, and all their friends are like, "Oh, so you're really from Iowa? So are you like a racist or something?" And then they have to be like, "No, like my parents were super racist, but I'm not like that. I'm like a cool guy." It's kind of the same effect. I'm going to make an LDS comment to alienate viewers, but like it's the LDS people who leave Utah and are like, and then they go to like LA or some coastal city, and they're like, "So you like are polygamous and hate black people or something, and you hate gays?" And they're like, "No, I'm not like those Utah Mormons." It's the same effect, right?
Yeah.
Where they end up kind of betraying where they're from because they're in this metropolitan area now that they have to kind of fit into like the cultural pinnings of these coastal cities, right? I don't know. I don't know if you agree or disagree on that.
No, that's kind of how I track. I do suspect that their convictions are a little bit fake, and I think we might see the opposite thing with Oliver Anthony, who now, like I was saying earlier, if he had slowly risen to prominence, just through like, you know, gradually gaining more and more YouTube followers, and then maybe going on tour with Tyler Childers or someone like that, he in 10 years would probably be a libtard.
Right.
But now he's kind of locked in to being a conservative, like, because that's who's going to pay him, and that's who's going to be his friend. There's the other element too, that these guys they tend to work with the older mode of music making, like, you know, that's kind of the folk element, and liberals tend to be more interested in that. They tend to have like this academic relationship to music where they're like preservationist and like, oh, you know.
Well, and it's all marketing, right? And the story, the more authentic of a story, like you were addicted to drugs and then you got off, like that adds credibility to your music, right? Even if your music is not as good as someone else who just was like, yeah, I studied at Juilliard and got really good at music.
Oh yeah, his Oliver Anthony's story is crazy, and yes, when someone buys into an artist, they're buying into the story. They're not just buying into the songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like one of my favorite artists going way back in the indie folk genre, his whole thing was like, oh, he was in prison and got out and he was selling drugs and stuff like that, and eventually he was kind of like, yeah, I did that when I was a teenager, but like, you know, I haven't been that for like a decade now. And like, I don't really identify with that story and don't really like how my record label keeps pushing it. And like, so yeah, like you kind of have to play up like your credentials even to get in. Like, I think the liberals especially like that story element, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They like the anthropological thing where it's like, oh, this guy is, you know, he's actually been to a coal mine. He could
Right.
show us where a coal mine is right now if we asked him to. When they've never seen one, they've never been there, they don't know. Um, I sidetracked myself, but I brought up this guy, but who did the Hicklib uh, thread, which I kind of like just because he documented some interesting stuff about various artists, but he also it was kind of an aimless thread, but he has this his response to the Oliver Anthony thing is funny because he says that Anthony he's become an overnight populist hero. And that was like on Saturday when he said that. And that was the sort of thing that was driving me crazy because it's like people are putting way too much on this guy. Like they didn't know enough. They didn't know much about him. And I think they're gonna get away with it this time because I think he does appear to want to play ball.
I think you were kind of wanting it to backfire.
I can see that it may have seemed that way, but I was genuinely just like, I want him to succeed. I like him, but I kind of wanted people to chill. Like,
no, I think people should chill anyway, right? Like, just if you like the music, you should like the music. Because I think some of the backlash I've been seeing now that we're like a week into this almost, is some people are like, well, I just don't really like country music, you know? And so they're like, I don't want to have to like this guy just because I have these politics, right?
Yeah, and let me read this other tweet. Like, this is an example. This one's got it got 500. Oh, the Chase Steely guy. Well, he might have blocked me. I don't know why. I didn't say anything mean. Or maybe he went private just because he was tired of all the attention. But this one guy, he says, he's like, the flags are down, the monuments vandalized, the graves desecrated of valiant men and even their steeds. But the people endure. We resist this evil regime just by being ourselves and always will. So he's talking about, the Confederacy and stuff like that. And, maybe Oliver Anthony is, maybe he's very sympathetic to all the Confederacy stuff, but you really don't know. Like, if I was a big Confederacy guy, I hope I wouldn't be putting my whole thing onto this guy. Like, oh, he's gonna, finally, he's here to save us. The South will rise again on this guy, and this guy's gonna do it. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care about the monuments. Maybe he doesn't care about Robert E. Lee's horse monument and stuff like that.
But it'd be so epic if he did.
Yeah.
He like shows up at the next Unite the Right rally and is playing in front of the statue.
Well, but then that's the other side of this. Is it's like you got Matt Walsh like promoting this guy, and Matt Walsh works for Ben Shapiro. So like, what's going to happen when? And I don't even know how old Anthony is. Like, do you know? Like,
I'm assuming he's in his 20s. I don't know though.
I'm guessing early 20s, but I don't know. He could be a little older. But kids like that age, they grew up online. He doesn't seem particularly online, but he grew up in a cell phone environment, a smartphone environment. Like, one of his friends out there has got a video of him doing or saying something that might make Ben Shapiro mad, right? Like, maybe he said something about a certain group of people or something. Like, is Matt Walsh going to be there when that happens? Like, when that video comes out or something? Are these guys going to stick by him if he turns out to be like, a hardcore Confederacy supporter or something?
Well, apparently Joe Rogan came out in favor.
Joe Rogan, promoted the song, on his Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Twitter is like, they just try to use whatever they can use for their thing. Like,
everyone is obsessively, trying to put their thing on this guy.
Right, because they need a take. They're looking for content, right? They're mining social media for content. This went viral, and it wasn't really attached to anything already, so they're like, oh, well, I'm going to attach to it.
Yeah. You got one of the Chapo guys, and so I don't know, have you seen much of the leftist response to this guy?
I've just seen some. I've seen like the straight up libtard response, which is, you know, he's racist and welfare is actually good and he's actually communist and doesn't realize it or
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, you got one of the Chapo guys who says, well, he says this guy is a whiner, and this guy's a victim of soyification, which I don't know how like a fat Chapo guy, a Chapo guy who's fat with a patchy beard is accusing someone else of being soy, but
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, it's like, why is that? I thought that was so funny too, because that was like the day after it went viral, and it's like Chapo guy doesn't actually he doesn't know that this guy is truly right wing either, but he's just
Right.
like he knows that like the battle lines have been drawn, so his fans require him to have this comment.
Yeah, you're almost like you have to put out the take. Like, it's a weird thing on social media where it's like you're almost compelled to say something and everyone already knows what it is, but you still have to say it.
Yeah.
That's a part of social media I don't like. I don't like saying what I'm supposed to be saying, you know?
Yeah, and there's this one I saw, you know, this guy is like, and this one, it got a ton of likes and retweets or reposts or whatever they're called now. He's criticizing Anthony for putting the capo on the neck of the guitar on the 5th fret. And I don't know if you like play guitar or whatever, but like, I play guitar a little bit, and but I'm not like, I don't have any like much musical knowledge, but I had no idea, like, why do 500,000 people think this is like funny or whatever, like, or like a good observation?
Right. It's almost like they just want to burn, and if it's not a good burn, they just pretend like it is.
Yes, and like, this guy he says using the capo on the 5th fret is so soy. Just learn to play guitar.
Well, and once again, I don't think he ever claimed. No one was like, "This is the best guitarist that we have ever seen." Like, no, he's more a singer songwriter guy. He's just strumming the guitar as he sings. Like, it's a very simple music form.
And it could even just play into the mythology. It's like, well, it was self-taught or whatever.
Right,
but like,
right. Like, no one was ever touting his like musical ability other than the fact that the song is somewhat catchy and the lyrics are interesting to a certain extent, and he's got a good voice.
And
like
then
a good sounding voice, right? He's got a nice country sound.
It's a compelling vocal. That to me is the thing that cut. That's why it cut through the noise.
Well, and like, to be honest, like musically, if we're gonna critique it, like, the guitar's fine. It's unobtrusive, is as best I could rate it, right?
Yeah,
and as worst. But like, the lyrics are kind of like, you know, rhyming rich men with Richmond. It's fine. It's not like groundbreaking songwriting or anything, right?
Yeah, I think the if there was like a songwriting critique, I would just say the song feels maybe a little bit unfinished. It kind of ends abruptly in a weird way.
But that's what that channel's for, right? Is kind of like new artists who are kind of starting their career to kind of put out some stuff and see if you like it. So yeah, like, and in that sense, like, I think it's a good one. Like I said, because sometimes you'll listen to them and there's really like no differentiating factor that makes the music sound good. But this guy had a particularly nice voice for the genre, and then the lyrics were kind of like, I don't want to say funny, but they were interesting beyond kind of just like, you know, I'm a sad guy singing about sad things.
Yeah. But regarding the like guitar playing thing, I watched some video from one of those YouTube reactions. The guitar teacher reacts, and he pointed out the 5th fret capo as well. But I
always watch that guy.
Yeah, you're probably the same guy that I'm thinking of. But he notices the capo position. He's like, yeah, that's a choice. Like, that's a thing you can do. And he's just like, that's probably where this guy, he just got comfortable in that kind of range, and that works for him. Like, there's not some own there. It's just like, that's just how he plays.
Do you know how hard it is to play the guitar? It's kind of hard. No,
we got any guitar listeners or players in the audience.
I learned how to play guitar in Paraguay.
Oh yeah.
I learned it with the do re mi fa sol la si do.
Were you
instead of-
playing like a nylon stringed Latin American style?
Yeah, I had a nylon one, and then I actually got acoustic strings and put it on a classical guitar.
Nice.
Toughen up my fingers. I also learned harp, so take that. Harp is really big in Paraguay, if you didn't know.
I didn't know that.
And
I
accordion.
would not have anticipated that.
Yeah, they're very famous for their harp making.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we've exhausted the takes. There's going to be like just constant takes for at least a few more days.
Well, one more take just musically. I like stripped down country because I don't like the grandeur and kind of the epicness that people try to add to country. I feel like it's to its detriment. As soon as you add more than like 2 instruments, it goes way downhill. Same thing with like blues, right? Blues is best served by guy, guitar. Maybe he has a slide. Maybe there's a drummer, right? You don't want to go beyond that. With like Black Keys being a famous like blues act, right? They're just a guitar and a drum, and their albums with more than that, I don't like as much. But anyway, like making fun of the simplicity of the music is dumb because like that's the point. Anyway,
yeah, this was just some outdoor recording. Oliver, I think, has signed already with a pretty influential Nashville guy, John Rich, who was previously in a big country act. I'm curious to see what they do, how they approach the studio stuff. Maybe they don't capture the magic again. That happens,
right?
They can always fall back.
I think it is hard to be both good live and in recording. Some people are only good in recording and not good live, and I really dislike those types of people usually. And then some people are only good live and their recording just is not interesting.
Yeah. It's basically no guarantees. There's no guarantees that it translates to a real studio setup. And if they try and give them a band, pedal steel and all that, like,
or if they like write songs for him or something.
Yeah. There's one last one we should look at, which was the
National Review, or what was it?
Well, there was these like evangelical preachers who were like, this young man is using profanity. Like, we shouldn't support him because he's using profanities.
So I was in Utah recently visiting my sister, and she just moved there from California, and we were talking about how like you might try to like talk to someone in Utah about like Oppenheimer, and try to talk about like the artistic value of a movie or something, and then they'd be like, but isn't that rated R? And like that's their only contribution to like the discussion. And so like that's the take I got with that, is like the only thing you hear in this song is he said a swear. Like, you didn't like catch on to the anger or like the longing or whatever. Like, all you hear is, he said a swear, so he's bad.
Yeah, it's kind of
like
the
most elementary school like take.
Well, it's like the first time in recent history that something that's overtly, I don't know. Well, that's something that's
right. That's like saying we don't like the way culture is going with like all the libtardness.
Yeah, and this is kind of a conservative thing to do as well, as be like, well, we don't like Lil Nas X, even though he's doing like he's doing simulated gay sex on stage with the devil, but we're gonna leave culture to him until we can find a compelling country guy who doesn't swear
and doesn't and lives a virtuous life and goes to church on Sundays, when like the reason this guy has stuff to sing about is he was a drug addict or whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
well, and he said, I think this could be mythology or something, but I think he said like 30 days ago or a week ago, he said he was kind of an atheist, but he's like, he prayed to God and he said, help me get off drugs or whatever. And like, I'll turn my life over to you and I'll use my music to like change the world or something. And then like a week later, he's famous. So I don't know if that's actually the true story, but I think I heard that. And it's like, maybe you just take that one and let it be.
Yeah. Yeah. Right?
Um,
Like, what better religious story do you have from an artist recently? And you're going to complain he said a swear.
yeah. So I mean, I don't have much more to say. I mean, we've gone an hour. I mean, people are probably gonna people. I hope people pick this apart. I mean, I hope that it means they're listening and stuff. But I think the main thing is if you like this song, there's more of it out there. And maybe the guys aren't. Them guys might not be like your ideology exactly, and I'm not sure Anthony is either. But go look for
Right.
more stuff if you like this.
Right. Like, I don't really have a big list of like reactionary music artists, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but definitely like people who are critiquing things in the world that you don't like. There's definitely more of that. And then also if you just liked the sound, there's a lot more to go around. Um, Also to people who are like, I don't like country, so I don't like this guy. Maybe start liking different things because maybe what you like is not very good. Have you ever
Oh,
thought of that?
there's one more thing I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of like the evangelical preacher who doesn't
Uh-huh.
like it because the swearing. National Review is like counter signaling Anthony. They're like, like, how about you write a song that's all the things you like about America, huh? Like,
Right. Why don't you write a song about how immigrants have been a positive force in America? Why don't you do that?
and once again, it's like National Review ostensibly, is this supposed to supposed to be this like conservative magazine or whatever,
Of
but
like high culture.
but they finally get a cultural moment. They finally get someone who might be a big
Like
star.
plugged into what's now, right?
Yeah, a big star who has artistic credibility
Uh-huh.
and might also have commercial viability. And their response is just like, well, can't you just do something else? Like,
Yeah, why didn't you do something else that we would like more?
Yeah, why do the thing that worked? Why didn't you do something that we would have done?
Right. Man, yeah, I hate all these people.
All right, that's it. I think. Well,
Well, wait, we got to give our musical recommendation of the week.
Well, because I was listening because of Anthony, I would say if you liked Oliver Anthony's song, go listen to this is also on the Radio West Virginia channel. Go listen to Drayton Farley. Drayton's a weird name, but it's like Dayton with an R in there. Drayton Farley. He's got a song called "Pitch and Fits." I liked. I've been listening to that the last couple of days.
Okay, I remember that one. I couldn't remember him by his name, but
And I would say he's from a just pure songwriting. He's he's a better pure songwriter. Song versus song. It's a more developed song.
okay,
Which doesn't always mean it's better. It's just
I've got two. One that's unrelated and one that's more related. The unrelated one is Durry, Durry. I don't know how to say it. And the song I'll recommend is "Who's Laughing Now." But basically, it's like a millennial band, and it's kind of an interesting thing what they're doing, but
okay.
not related.
If you send me links, I can maybe put them in.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. And then the one that's related is shoot. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Ian Noe, Noe, Meth Head. That's a good one.
Yeah,
5 years ago it came out.
I might link another one by this one's one from Gems on VHS. Matt Heckler, Blue Eyes Dancing. That's a really good one.
Oh yeah.
It's 4 years old, I guess, but it's great. It's a great song.
Yeah, the Durry band is brand new, and they released a music video that was like an N64 game. So anyway,
But yeah, it's my favorite 64 and
that's your favorite.
yeah, N64. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us, everyone.
Yeah.
Drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, cause the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for miners, and not just miners on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men north of Richmond. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.